Hello, and welcome to the Intel Brief, your daily intelligence briefing on global geopolitics. Today is Friday, 13 September. I'm your host Daniel, the founder of HM Intelligence, and every weekday we bring you not just the news, but the so what from the events and decisions that shape our world. So grab a coffee and get ready to be informed. In today's update, we'll be covering Russia expelling 6 British diplomats on espionage charges. 14 have been killed in an ISIS-K attack in Afghanistan. And Keir Starmer says the UK's NHS needs to reform or die. So firstly, the Russian FSB has accused 6 British diplomats of espionage, prompting the Russian Foreign Ministry to revoke their accreditation and expel them from the country. The FSB has claimed that diplomats who worked in the political department of the British Embassy in Moscow were involved in activities that showed signs of espionage and sabotage. This action follows what Russia describes as numerous unfriendly steps by the United Kingdom. Russian state television also reported that these diplomats had been in contact with independent media and rights groups labelled as foreign agents, a designation frequently used by the Kremlin to target critics. The British government has dismissed the accusations as completely baseless, rejecting the spying claims. The timing of this expulsion coincides with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer's meeting with Joe Biden in Washington, where they are expected to discuss Ukraine and the ongoing support in their conflict with Russia. Kiev has also requested to lift the restriction on the use of Western weapons against Russian targets, something that the UK has recently said they will not do. This expulsion adds another layer of tension to the already strained relations between the UK and Russia amidst the broader context of the war in Ukraine. So what? To me, this appears like it's par for the course, especially with tensions as high as they are now. While it is likely that these British diplomats were in fact intelligence officers conducting intelligence activities within Russia, this is quite standard within international politics. It is possible that Russia has known about these officers for quite some time and has chosen now as the time to expel them as payback for the upcoming talks and UK's support for Ukraine. And next, at least 14 people have been killed and 6 wounded in an attack by an unidentified gunman in Afghanistan, as reported by the Taliban. The attack took place on the border between the central provinces, a predominantly Shia Muslim area once considered to be relatively safe. The victims had gathered to welcome pilgrims returning from a festival in Iraq, while the Taliban expressed sorrow and vowed to bring the perpetrators to justice. Further details about the incident remain sparse. The Islamic State Khorasan province, also known as ISIS-K, has claimed responsibility for the attack, stating that its soldiers of the caliphate had targeted a group of Shiites whom ISIS considers to be apostates. This attack is part of an ongoing insurgency waged by ISIS-K, the local affiliate of the Islamic State, against both Shia Muslims and the Taliban. Despite the Taliban's claims of having largely defeated the group since taking power in August 2021, ISIS-K continues to carry out regular attacks, challenging the Taliban's ability to maintain security in the region. So what? Since the US withdrawal, ISIS-K have become the main security threat outside of the Taliban government within Afghanistan and have been frequently conducting attacks against numerous targets. It seems unlikely that the Taliban will be able to disrupt ISIS-K's operations within Afghanistan. This is due to the same reasons that supported the Taliban throughout the years fighting against the Americans, with their ability to hide in the mountains and move in amongst the populace. It'll be interesting to see how the tables have turned and how the Taliban handle counterinsurgency operations, something that they were considerably involved in over the years. And lastly, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has issued a stark warning about the future of the NHS, or the National Health Service, within the UK, stating that it must reform or die, following a critical independent report. The report, led by Lord Darcy, revealed that the NHS is in serious trouble, highlighting shocking findings about the declining health of the British population over the past 15 years. Starmer emphasised that the NHS requires major structural reform to handle the challenges of rising healthcare costs associated with an ageing population. He stressed that the working people can no longer afford to pay more, and called for a long-term, 10-year plan for the NHS rather than short-term fixes. The report outlined alarming issues, including a surge in long-term illnesses such as diabetes and high blood pressure, as well as a backlog of 7.6 million patients on waiting lists. It has also found that patients are facing lengthy waits in emergency departments, with 1 in 10 waiting over 12 hours for care. While Starmer pledged to work with NHS staff, experts and patients for a major overhaul, the opposition Conservative Party has accused him of exaggerating the situation to justify potential tax increases. Nonetheless, the Prime Minister remains firm that the only fundamental reform will secure the future of the NHS and improve the health of the nation. So what? The NHS is considered to be an institution within the United Kingdom, and any government efforts to change it are normally seen as political suicide. However, this appears to have changed in recent months, with rising costs, long waiting times, and numerous stories of poor service. Most people in the UK now agree that something needs to be done. One good example of this is a Twitter account known as Days of NHS Spending that breaks down other government costs and how long it would take the NHS to spend it. It's well worth checking out if you've never seen it, as the costs are quite dramatic. Thank you for listening to the Intel Brief, your daily intelligence briefing on global geopolitics, brought to you by HM Intelligence. If you want to support the podcast, tell your friends to help them stay informed, or leave us a 5-star review. And if you want to learn more about intelligence, why not take one of our courses? They're all online, self-paced, and affordable. Thank you for listening. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you next time.